Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody today? Thanks for joining in. We've got a really cool show for you here today. Before we get started, I just want to do a shout out to the sponsor, Shield Folio. They've got this really cool product called a Stonebook. I would definitely look into it for your seed phrase protection needs. You can get a 20% discount on the Stonebook if you use the code Bitcoin Live 20. That's in all caps, Bitcoin Live 20. And without further delay, let's go ahead and get started today. I've got some serious builders on this episode. We've got Mr. Dan Trevino, and we've got Zero from Zero Authority DAO. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Dan and let him give a brief introduction, and we'll go to Zero. Dan, how you going? How's it going today, man?
It's going great. Thanks for letting me join you today. For those who don't know me, my name is Dan Trevino. Been in crypto since 2016. I've been building in the Stacks blockchain since 2017. My first application was a privacy respecting note-taking application that leveraged the Bitcoin libraries for the security and privacy. And after the Stacks 2.0 launch blockchain, we released Boom, which was the first web wallet on Stacks and the first NFT platform on Stacks. And lately, I've refocused on Boom 2.0, where we're building out a Bitcoin payments ecosystem that leverages the Nakamoto and SBTC releases that are happening on Stacks as well, leveraging layer 2 to make things faster and easier for users and enabling the Bitcoin payments economy.
That's so cool, man, and it works so well with our other guests today. Zero, just go ahead and introduce yourself, man, and tell us a little bit about Zero Authority DAO.
GM, thanks for having us on here, brother Jack. Dan, great to see you again, brother. Dan and I met early Blockstack days because we were here over in Oregon together, and kind of felt like some early pioneering, and it kind of ties into the Oregon Trail and being early to the West and being early to Bitcoin L2s. But for those that don't know me, I go by Zero, and my name on Twitter is XyZeroBtc, and I'm the co-founder of Zero Authority and Trajan. And so Zero Authority is a reputation layer, and we have a gig marketplace, we have endorsements on chain, we have bounties on chain. So it's a little ecosystem on a Bitcoin L2 Stacks, and what we're trying to do is bring reputation. Not only do we want to bring the intangible reputation that you earn, but we want to make it tangible by creating a SIP standard, so a standard framework, so any teams, any protocols out there, they can adopt these things. And then for us specifically, if you're using our decentralized apps, you're earning a reputation. It's visible with an NFT non-transferable badge. So we started as early in the Blockstack days. I wanted to build something. I saw builders like Dan and a lot of great builders and entrepreneurs early in the Blockstack days, and wasn't sure what I was going to build. I tuned into the Blockstack Summit, and I saw Balaji talking about the pseudonymous economy, and I thought that's it, the pseudonymous economy, where you can have real identities, pseudonyms, and also be completely anonymous. And so as me and Hodl Stacks partnered up in early 2021, I had the Bitcoin pizzas that I was doing for the NFTs, and he was doing like this NFT website at the time. And we were like, let's join up and let's partner together. I got this idea that I've been working on, and I'm going to have to flash on my screen here. I found an email from 2021 where I was talking to Patrick Stanley about this proof of HODL. And so we launched the reputation badges with Trajan, and we've been doing some experiments, right? We've been working with the Roo community, with the Welsh community. We've been helping out people at the foundation like Adam, and I know there was a partnership Adam had with Benet. Benet's been doing amazing education in Nepal and doing San Francisco meetups. So we're finally at the point where we have the badges for the endorsements on chain. We have people doing gigs on chain, and everyone is earning reputation. That's what we wanted to bring to the ecosystem. That's what we want to bring to other Bitcoin L2s too. The ability to own your reputation and be able to display that and take it wherever you go as well.
You know, that's really cool, and that's why I'm so glad that both of you gentlemen could come on today.
And by the way, I got my little son here who's brand new, fresh out. He's going on 2 months, and I said, you know what, son, it's time for you to step up as an intern. And
that's right. That's right. Look, when they get to be about teenagers, that's when you really start getting that money back and all those calories you've invested in them over the years. You know, you take out the trash, you know, come intern the video. Yeah, like no, that's what's up.
Hey,
Yeah.
grab my cup on the table. I'm feeling my throat is parched over here.
You know, it's cool because this episode works because, in my mind at least, when you're talking about payments and you're talking about reputation, I believe that two of these things are critical or foundational in what we think about as the onboarding of people into, whether you call it Web3, the Bitcoin economies, whatever. Like I believe that these are foundational problems. You know, so on one hand, you have, you know, these non-readable human addresses doing things on the blockchain. How do you know who's doing what? How do you know who's trustworthy, right? And then you have the whole, hey, self-custody, how does this stuff work? How do I do it? And not that it's very difficult. I don't believe anything that we do in this space is any more difficult than, you know, when you're learning how to use the internet circa, you know, 1996, 1997, what have you. It's just the same thing. You have to figure out how to get people to get comfortable enough to do this. And the only difference is with an email, for instance, when you learn how to use email, it's relatively low stakes relative to, you know, when you're dealing with your actual funds. So, but otherwise, I think it pretty much stacks together. So, tell us a little bit about Boom, Dan, and what this is going to look like. You talked about the Nakamoto upgrade and with stacks, because this is very fascinating.
Well, so the Nakamoto upgrade and the SBTC upgrade are going to bring basically a fast block one-to-one Bitcoin peg to stacks, and our thesis is we can leverage that to actually build a better Bitcoin. Build a better Lightning than Lightning. So just as Lightning's a layer 2 for Bitcoin, stacks will enable the same functionality without some of the overhead required if you want to run like a non-custodial node yourself. Now we're watching Lightning. Obviously, we are a little bit more layer 2 agnostic. We really are hunting for like the best user experience for the Bitcoin economy. And so we're watching things that folks like I think Breeze SDK are doing. There's a lot of great functionality that's coming to Lightning. And so we obviously we're watching those places too. But right out of the box with Nakamoto and SBTC, you'll be able to peg in and peg out a one-to-one trustless Bitcoin peg into stacks, leverage SBTC for payments, and peg out really quickly. You don't have to worry about watchtowers and setting up your own Lightning node, your own Bitcoin node, all those other things that you would want to do on Lightning to have a truly non-custodial setup. So we think the user experience is improved here, and we want to expand the Bitcoin economy as much as possible using these layer 2s.
And you're talking about, you know, something that's so incredibly early, right? I mean, people when you're talking about Bitcoin L2s, for the longest time, and still Stacks is the biggest game in town by far. Well earned. I mean, it's taken a lot of hustle and a lot of work, but it's wide open. And you're right, Lightning, and I don't know why. Maybe you could tell me why hasn't Lightning caught on to the extent that you think it should have by now.
I think Lightning was super early, and early. I remember, Elizabeth Stark coming to the Stacks conferences and talking about Lightning 2018 and things like that. Things were so early. Lightning's early. I think some of the onboarding is a lot of friction, quite honestly.
Right.
Like I said, things have improved there a ton, and things are continuing to get better. But also, I would say, I think the numbers I saw was that Lightning in 2023 did like $80-ish million in payments, and that was almost triple what it had done before. So Lightning's growing. There's an appetite for Bitcoin payments. And NOSTR has provided a simple way for folks who are in the Bitcoin area to make simple Lightning payments to each other. So instead of likes, if you're not familiar with Nostr, instead of likes, you can actually zap somebody a few satoshis in Lightning, and that's like a great novel little social experiment. So I think Lightning's growing. I think the idea of having simple Bitcoin payments is growing, and I think I'm excited for like what we can do with Boom to kind of expand that usage.
Yeah. So in the friction part, anything you can do to reduce the friction is going to help onboard people quicker.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really cool.
And not just on the front end, but as you mentioned on the back end. So was it a month ago, Zero? I reached out to Zero to talk about this reputation for merchants. Like right now, you can launch a Nostr shop really easily. They've set some great standards for like making things simple, but there's no reputation other than just like, I guess, a word of mouth kind of thing. And so I actually reached out to Zero and Hodl a while back to talk about like how do we integrate reputation into some of these shops that we're going to be trying to set a standard for, right? And one of the things I learned obviously is that I don't play a lot in the reputation world. So one of the things that I learned was that there's multiple layers here to reputation. And what I was looking for, like just a 5-star, 1-star review of a shop. They're actually doing what they say they're going to do. They're shipping product when they say they're going to ship product. Is completely different, obviously, or a big subset of actually having like the full on-chain reputation where you've proven that you've done a number of other things rather than just obviously the shopping experience.
No, and that's cool. And I think that's a good segue to get back to you, Zero. Why in your mind? Because when I first spoke to you years ago, that was the first I'd ever thought about reputation on chain in any meaningful way. So in my mind, you're an expert in this field. So why? Just sum up what reputation means for the blockchain user, what reputation looks like in the future, what's the vision, and why is this so important for not just the participants now, but for the growth of the ecosystem, basically. You're on mute, brother. There you
Get your bingo cards ready. Talking on mute. I think it could be summarized in one statement, right? All of your on-chain activity should be represented in some type of digital format that shows you're either a part of these communities or you're doing work within these communities. I need to pull up that email. I couldn't find it, but I was Patrick Stanley back in 2021. He created Freehold, and so the concept of Freehold was supposed to be this decentralized community of people who can come together at any time, wherever you are, whoever you are, and get different type of work done. He was talking about a proof of HODL, this concept that it never took off because he started working on Miami Coin and New York Coin, which became a huge success at the time. But it was always in the back of my mind about this proof of HODL, and I want to share my screen here. Let's see if I could share my screen. Let's see if I could. Let me share this window. Can you guys see this? Yeah. So the proof the the concept of badges. Well, it didn't come to fruition until we were further along. I always say we had to Trojan horse people the same way Bitcoin had to Trojan horse us into seeing decentralized digital currencies could be a real thing. I think I thought about this proof of HODL and wanted to do something with it. And if you really think about it, the proof of HODL is just something to say to people, whether I have this token, whether I have the whether I'm holding Roo, Welsh, or STX, I'm one of your most valuable members because I have held on to this thing and I keep holding. The longer you hold on to that asset, that proof of HODL score continues to rise because it's showing I'm dedicated to the mission, right? So that's kind of like the underlying focus here. And so once we took over Trajan, because Ragnar came to us and was like, "Hey, I'm going to step aside. I think you guys would be great stewards of doing the endorsements on chain," because we were trying to do some type of partnerships. And why I say we were trying to Trojan horse this thing is because the idea of reputation on chain is just so nebulous and pie in the sky. And it's like, well, what is it? How do I earn it? Well, put that aside. We have this gig marketplace. If you work peer to peer, you get these badges, which are NFT non-transferable badges that represents this is my some of my reputation that I've actually earned by actually doing real work. Then you have the endorsements, right? Where and these are some of the experiments we started running, right? Uh, uh, Adam and Benet, they did their San Francisco meetup. Benet was like, "Hey, I wonder if we could have some type of badges for this thing." And he was the concept is POAPs, so POAPs everyone knows, and so we what we believe is like the idea of POAPs. We take POAPs to the next level with these non-transferable badges that are a collection, right? And then to me the biggest movers of this concept has been Welsh and the Roo community. When we did these experiments, and Jack, you and I talk about this all the time. We talk about it late at night, early in the morning. But when we sent the badges, because when you launched it, I said, "Hey, brother, we want to send some badges out just to some Roo holders," and it was so new at the time. You were thinking, and I don't even know what you were thinking. I think you were thinking, well, I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't really understand exactly how it's all going to work, but go ahead and go for it. And I was like, great, HODL Stacks, we got the green light. Let's start putting some cool images together and let's send these out to people. So the groundswell of people saying, Zero, where the fuck is my badge? I was blown away because you know, these badges represent I've done this thing on chain, whether I'm a holder of Roo, whether I have I minted a Stacks Invader, right? Whether I hold Welsh, I've attended this meetup in real life, right? These badges are starting to be dropped into your wallet, and somebody somewhere will start to do something with these things and say, "Hey, look at these people who are earning this reputation badge. Let's do something cool with that." And then obviously our participation with the D grants. I I think that early partnership with me and Hero, just talking about, hey, let's do something to reward people coming in as stewards, as creators. But not only that, when we got our grant back in 2021, we got 25K, right? It was enough to get a Web 2 version out. There were a lot of people who the foundation gave them 100K, 75K, 10K, 5K, right? A lot of those projects kind of fizzled out, right? So the concept of why do people want reputation badges? Well, in a decentralized world where it's hard to prove who I am, I need to have this type of badges to show all of these on-chain transactions are actually owned by my wallet, and I've actually done these things. And so that's where it started to like really come home, where I'm doing all these on-chain transactions. I would like a way to show that I've actually participated. So we're ready for the next level, and we created this reputation framework too. So me and Dan were talking about, well, how could we leverage the power of reputation on chain? And so I was telling him, well, the way we have it organized, the way people earn their reputation is simply from on-chain transactions, and then it's categorized. And I think we probably do align in some ways, Dan, where if someone has a store, maybe they push a button, mint my reputation to show that I've created a store on Boom. Someone submits a review, they could mint their badge. I have submitted a review. Now the contents of that 5-star review may be completely private. Who knows how we want to eventually do this? But all of these badges are going to start to add up and accumulate, and it's going to be important. So that's kind of why we started. The gap that we saw is like, if you're completely anonymous, or you live in a place like one of the developers we work with, he lives in a place where Bitcoin isn't supported at all. So he has to have some type of reputation, and this is the way he does it. So that was really the genesis of the idea.
And it's really cool because when you think about these badges and how they're kind of coming out on the scene right now, it's almost reminiscent of people who play games, gamers
Hmm.
online. They have their different trophies that they get for different games, and it just becomes like a part of their profile, right? I've been here, I've done this, I've been here, I've done that. And people like that. People like to feel included. That's a big thing about meme coins, that people who don't understand them, it's because they don't understand that aspect of which is being a part of a community and having like this common goal. It's not, with meme coins potentially, especially, it's not just the like actual meme itself, the peppy or what have you. It's this community thing where it's just people in the trenches helping build this thing out that's bigger than everybody for everybody's benefit, right? So I mean, that's really cool, and I think the badge idea is awesome, and it's very important, because then when you start getting into, okay, if we're operating under the assumption that what we're doing on crypto is superior to what we have done on Web 2, then it naturally follows that when we think about building, or we think about working in crypto, working in Web 3, there has to be a system in place to help facilitate that still honors the fundamental values of what it means to be decentralized, what it means to be anonymous or mostly anonymous. And that's what the Cerulean marketplace is all about, correct?
Absolutely. I'm sharing my screen one more time too, because I really want to put this out there and tell people the standard reputation framework, it exists right now. I started, me and Huddle started working on it 3 years ago. We finally are at the point where it makes sense. And so why I'm saying, so let's say, for example, somebody wants to adopt this. I call it the 3 levels of adoption, right? There's going to be the developers, where give me the code, get out of my way, let me just implement this thing. Have at it. You're going to have all the code, you're going to have all the tools. Then there's going to be the middle layer, where I'm kind of technical, but I'm not a developer, and I want to be able to use this thing. We're going to create different widgets, so you can put it into your website through an IMAP. Hopefully, long term, we could work with Chris at No Code Clarity. So when you spin up your No Code Clarity app, you have a couple widgets. One of our widgets is there. You pop it in, and so you start to have easy to mint reputation badges. Then the other category is to the that far right or far left on the spectrum is I'm just an end user. I do on-chain transactions. Maybe I'm swapping Roo. Maybe I'm swapping Welsh. Maybe I went to a store that somebody has on Boom, and I bought something, and I want to see that reputation that I'm earning. We're going to create like a nice window where you can go, where you can just mint your NFT badges, and it will be displayed on your profile. So we wanted to. The hardest part of this is just making it easy for everyone to understand, because the idea of like reputation, a lot of people will say, well, reputation goes along with identity, and I agree, but that's not what we're doing, right? Identity is a hard problem to solve. Different nations have different jurisdictions, how they identify a person and the personage with different types of documentation. But we're just saying, if you have a wallet address and possibly a BNS, you can have on-chain transactions, and you can mint those categories into a reputation category. And then we're going to have some just like really simple things to start to say, this is the reputation I'm earning. Now, after this is phase one, right? So we got phase one going. Phase two is where we believe the trustless score is going to come along, and we use the derivative of the eigentrust algorithm. We haven't designed all of that yet, but that will be coming in the future. But I would love for anyone to go to our page and add some comments if you want to take a look at, well, how does standard reputation framework work, and then after we are able to get the SIP standard, run some experiments, allow everyone else to run some experiments, and see where we really land, because no one knows exactly where this is going to go. I mean, Jack, how surprised were you with the Roo reputation badges?
Oh man, it was awesome. I went into it just with no expectations, really, right? Like it was just completely just let's see what happens, because that's the
Yeah,
mindset that you have
same.
to have when you're trying to do new things. And I was blown away. I mean, people love them, right? So I mean, if you've got one of these badges, it shows everybody from here on out that you were a part of the Roo community when it started. And when you get into degen circles, and that's always kind of fun, like when you're telling war stories in a Discord or an alpha group or something about where you've been and so forth. Well, now
Mhm.
you can verify that, right? I mean, so it's cool. And I think that it's also going to work, and we've talked about this before. I think it's going to be very helpful with airdrops in the future. I think that the just mass shotgun approach to airdrops and just airdropping a bunch of wallets that meet some kind of criteria for activity is the beginning. I think that going forward, a better strategy for airdrops is going to be airdropping to people who have, good reputation, right? And
Mhm.
or who have, so yeah, I think that it's going to play a big part in that as well. Dan, earlier you were talking about SBTC and Nakamoto a little bit when you were talking about Boom. And for our viewers who are Bitcoiners, but they haven't messed around on the layer twos too much, can you give us a little bit of information about SBTC, what Nakamoto means for stacks and so forth? Oh, we might have lost Dan real quick. We go back to that one. That'll be a good one. So Zero, we'll get back to what we were talking about. Um, in terms of,
Hey, Jack, I want to
yeah,
know the mint price on the Invader's gone up, right?
I think we're up to four STX now. Yeah, we released them on kind of a bonding curve, right? Um, and yeah, so right now it's at 4, and then the next jump will be to 5, and it'll be
So it
real
started at
interesting.
1 stack to mint
Mhm.
the first 1,000, right?
Yeah, yeah, it
And then
was
it was two. What's the
1.5.
total supply?
Total supply would be 5,000, but not every single block gets minted, right? So
Hmm.
the ultimate collection size will be under 5,000. But
Okay.
the invaders that don't get minted, we have something pretty cool in mind for those guys down the line. Uh, yeah, the invaders are really cool. The DMT on stacks has been a lot of fun so far, and that is something that has a lot of potential for the ecosystem for people to play with, to do more building. It's been
Absolutely.
great, you know.
Yeah, I've been, again, the Roo badges and the Welsh badges completely took me by surprise. Obviously, I know why this matters, but you never know if it's going to capture the attention and break through, right? And then the DMT mint, separate the DMT from the stacks invaders. The way people have been minting NFTs is I go to mint this NFT, and it's a transaction in a block. It doesn't matter. It can be 1,000 transactions. It can be 200 transactions. It doesn't matter. But the thought, the insight to say, what if we did one mint per one block? Now, I
Yeah,
think that is it's just thinking outside the box, man.
yeah, it's cool.
This is what I tell people a lot too, and I appreciate what you were telling people, because people would say, "Oh, I want my NFT badge," and you were saying, "Well, wait a minute. This isn't just another NFT. This is a reputation badge, meaning this thing is non-transferable." And I think we as humans, we get so caught up in, this is the thing, this is how it's always been, so that's what it must be going forward. An NFT, it can be an image, which is typically an image. It can be music. It can be the DMT, where I mint one NFT per one block. It could be these non-transferable reputation badges that are represented from the on-chain transactions. It can be a digital certificate, right? I think, uh, you know, every cycle is completely different. I always think, okay, well, people will learn the way I did back in 2016, like me and Dan. The way people learn about blockchain in 2024 is not the same way. The way
No,
we will learn is, okay, I'm looking for this decentralized currency, something outside of stocks or bonds, or uh, yeah, stocks, bonds, the typical real estate assets, and then you learn about Bitcoin. Well, this is why a lot of people don't understand as well. Like, well, how could you know about NFTs but not Bitcoin? Well, because we saw the shift happen, because
right,
during 2017, it was still Bitcoin, Ethereum. 2021, it was like, I want an NFT. I don't even care about Bitcoin. I don't care about Ethereum. If I have them, cool. If I learn about them, great. And then 24, now we're at the point where it's like meme coin
right.
everything. I didn't see that coming. And that's why I say every cycle is a little bit different on how people enter the markets. Uh, Dan is back. What's up, brother?
Yeah. Hey, welcome back, man.
Morning. Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
Jack, can
No,
we drop some alpha,
on.
gold, and silver?
Oh, let's do it,
Hint, hint,
man.
hint,
Yeah,
hint.
let's do it. Let's save that for a minute, because I
Okay,
wanna I
okay,
wanna ask Dan a question.
go
When
for
you
it.
were when you were talking about Boom earlier, Dan, you brought up SBTC, you brought up Nakamoto. You're an excellent developer. And I can give an explanation to people about what these things are. But for our audience who might not be familiar with L2s in general or stacks, tell us a little bit about what SBTC is, what it's going to do, and also what Nakamoto upgrade means for stacks, if you don't mind, sir.
Sure, I'll start with Nakamoto because that's the current implementation. Nakamoto basically allows is bringing fast blocks to Stacks. So currently, Stacks tracks along with Bitcoin blocks basically once every 10-ish minutes. Nakamoto is bringing that block time down to sub 10 second. So with that, obviously faster blocks means transactions are a lot more responsive, and applications can be a lot more responsive. And then with SBTC, we're actually layering a trust minimized Bitcoin peg-in that's utilizing weighted threshold signatures. I'm not sure how technical the audience is, but basically everyone who is stacking, and they're currently up to 2,048 stacking slots for stacks, will act as a signer to approve or disprove SBTC peg-ins, peg-outs. I believe as long as there are 30% honest signers, that transactions will continue to flow. And basically, it's a one-to-one Bitcoin peg-in. So you peg in Bitcoin, you get SBTC in the same amount. You can utilize that SBTC for DeFi applications, payments, whatever it is you think you want to do, and then peg your SBTC back out into Bitcoin.
Right.
Again, with the 4-second block times, this means you can pretty easily drop some Bitcoin in, execute whatever it is you want to do in the Stacks blockchain really cheaply, and then peg it back out, within the same day without having to worry about, wrapping fees and things like that. So you're not wrapping Bitcoin at all here. You're just pegging it into this trustless contract.
And
Trust minimization.
That's a big deal. And people may not understand, but basically Stacks has a very unique relationship to Bitcoin, the way that its consensus mechanism operates. It's, and so that allows for SBTC to be the most trust minimized way to transact with Bitcoin on the L2. And like you said, more cheaply. We're a few months out from Ordinals and Runes Mania, but I mean, let's not forget, it wasn't but a few months ago, you were looking at $40, $50, $100 fees on Bitcoin, when people were really minting a lot of Runes and Ordinals and so forth. So I mean, that's pretty huge. In terms of other L2s, in your opinion, is anyone else kind of looking at the way to interact with Bitcoin in a novel way like Stacks, or is it all just kind of like EVM wrapped Bitcoin type stuff?
We've talked to a few of them. We've talked to like Botanics. We've talked to Bison. I believe we have some discussion coming up with BVM. A lot of them are bridges into basically an EVM smart contract environment. But I think that Bison is doing some really interesting stuff if they can complete their work. I know there's some zero knowledge layers that are trying to be built. Like that would be really interesting. I'm a little I'm less bullish on those just because I think it's a lot of work to get that to be done right. But there's some interesting work going on out there. I think Stacks kind of leads the way. Stacks has been around and been doing this, for years. And so it's easy for someone to come up and say they have a layer 2. I think if you've been around any blockchain that has a future work on a roadmap, that work in the blockchain world is never easy. It's never fast, right? Things have to be right. And so there's a lot of testing involved. There's a lot of complicated development involved. And like I said, Stacks has the advantage of having been here doing this for the past 2-3 years. And so they've got that little bit of a head start on some of the new layer 2s. I think also the fact that, like you mentioned, the POX basically leverages Bitcoin already. There's a lot of experience working cross-chain with stacks and Bitcoin that really helps kind of the implementation of the SBTC pagan.
Yeah, and I think that just gets right down to, the brass tacks, which is the security aspect of it, right? I mean, when you're talking about bridges, that's always a good place to exploit. And the way that Stacks is kind of doing it with the signers, and really just kind of inheriting a lot of, well, all of Bitcoin security, right? I mean, that's
Right.
that part really. I think we're very early in the L2 meta, and I think that Stacks is definitely leading the race right now. I am interested to see what other blockchains, what other L2 solutions, you know, survive and thrive and bring new things to the market. But yeah, I think that Zero's back. I think the security is one of the biggest concerns at this point.
Yeah, actually getting the Bitcoin finality is huge. I think the other thing is that like anybody can throw up a bridge. The question is how trustless you can make that bridge, and a lot of these layer twos. Well, some of them are not using bridges, but a lot of them are just using bridges with the whole kind of progressive decentralization idea, right? And that's maybe fine for those audiences. But I think having uh, a large number of stackers, again up to 2,000, that are signing these transactions, these peg in peg out transactions, and I believe the number is 30% of honest stackers that are needed for these transactions. That gives you a lot more area for. It gives you a lot more, at least for me, gives you a lot more trust in this. You can do federations like what Liquid's doing, and they've got 12, 16 signers. Maybe that's your trust model, and that's fine. But having a more open, decentralized pay in, pay out process, to me, just makes building on this area a lot more interesting.
Oh, I agree, and it really is. It's very cool seeing everything kind of go back to Bitcoin. I do believe that other blockchains will do very well at a lot of different things, and some of these things we haven't even you know discovered yet. But when it comes to Bitcoin, that's a constant. Bitcoin's going to be a constant, and building on Bitcoin as a solid foundation all day long. Zero, we were talking for a minute there about the gold and silver. So I think we should hit them with a little bit of alpha. So
I think so. Well, why don't you talk about the setup and what you were thinking as far as we did the experiment, right? We launched the first badge, and it was just for, do you hold Roo? Have you ever held Roo? If you hold Roo and continue to hold Roo, you get a badge, right? Then you and I, we've been just planning here in the background and saying, well, what if we can give different badges for different types of holders? And then this kind of really aligns obviously with what we want to do for reputation on chain, but it also aligns to like how I've wanted to bring this like proof of hodl back to the community. And I'm bullish on the L2s as well, like a BitVM rootstock. I'm really bullish on rootstock and want to get more involved with them. I know a lot of us in the Stacks land want to get more involved with what's going on rootstock and see if we can extend our tentacles and help builders over there and extend the reach of the Bitcoin layers. But yeah, so that was the conversations you and I had, and I just, to me, I've been really pleasantly surprised with the level of community engagement recently from Welsh, from the Roo communities. Leo is a great community too, and they continue to build with the STX tools. So Roo, Leo, Gus, the Nothing token. I love that Haas created this early meme coin, and he did it just as a joke, and it really was meant to be a joke, because I remember early on there was a Friedger coin, and this the Nothing token was what was it, Dan? It was micro. It was MNO token, micro Nothing token. So like early on, the first couple of jokes was like, get nothing, get nothing of this, because there was only, at the time when we first launched, there was that this Nothing token, and then Stacks, then Arcadico came online, then Alex came online, and Megapont clogged up the chain after that, and then you kind of had this lull period of people launching on Stacks. So then this cycle has completely unleashed the meme coin cycle, and it's been crazy to see. And I think we're at the point in the cycle where, okay, yeah, it's cool to have a meme coin, it's cool to participate, but I need this to have some other benefits or some other utility, right? And so that was what you and I were talking about, Jack, and I know me and other founders talk a lot about that. And so the alpha that we wanted to share today is that there's going to be different badges coming for the Roo holders, and we still got to sort the details. But Jack, why don't you talk about like what the different levels of badges are? Because we have the gold, and then we have the silver level badges, and I'm sure eventually later on too we'll think about some other types of badges.
Oh, 100%. So basically, like you said, we have those badges that went out to all of the all of the people who have joined or been a part of the Roo community up until this point, and that's been a lot of fun. And you cannot, like when you're talking about Stacks Invaders, they're really cool. It's a lot of fun. The DMT is a lot of fun. We couldn't have done that without our community. Like it wouldn't have, DMT on Stacks wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for the guys in Roo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and there's been a lot of things that we have done inside Roo already. So you can go to Velar and you can get some Roo. You can go to Velar, you can stake some Roo. You can stake it to and you can farm, right? Um, then you can go to Charisma DAO and you can stake Roo there, or you can combine it with Welsh and make this hybrid token called Woo, right? There's all of these different levels.
And Jack, don't forget, you can go to Zero Authority XyZ and extrade services and get paid in Roo.
In Roo, 100%. And so when you're looking at these things, there's various things you can do inside this one community. So if someone's done it all, right? If someone's been there since the beginning, if someone's staked, if someone's done this and that and the other, well, they should get a little more recognition than just having the same badge as everyone else, right? So that's the genesis of the idea for these other badges, where there's a gold level, silver level, hell, there might be a platinum level, right? I mean, we could just do all of these different things to just kind of show that this is a wallet, that this is a user who has really done a lot inside this community, and this is a person who would be valuable to have in any endeavor, right? This is a person you want to know about. This is a person that helps build communities, helps push the space forward. And it could even be badges for people who help build things. Ultimately, look, when you talk about Roo, Roo needs to be completely decentralized. That it was made to be decentralized. And I want people to look at the token and be like, hey, I want to build this for it, and just go ahead and do that. I want
Mhm.
people to look at the token and be like, man, they got some pretty cool art in that community. I want to make some merch and do that. I want people to you know, so it all fits together with this underlying theme of decentralization. So yeah, I think that having those badges like that to just give that extra bit of recognition or prestige or what have you is going to be very important, and I can't wait to get those out to the people who've earned them. You know.
Yeah, and I'm excited to work with Dan too, and you know, even if it's just something like um, where people, like I said, they set up their store, they get a reputation badge. If you've given a review, I think, and I've heard other, I know Gary from Haylayer is talking about this concept of doing like a storefront. I think storefronts are going to be in different types of formats. I don't think there's going to be one or another. I think more competition is going to be good, especially as we all start to branch out to different Bitcoin layers or just different chains in general. I know for us, one of our missions is to make we want to be the reputation layer for Web3. Now, how we get there, there's many steps along the way to get to that point. I think where we're just going to start is being able to display those badges in various ways and make it accessible. Today it's not accessible, and we also still need to take the reputation to the next level, right? When people are earning these badges, we need to give them, we need to work with the community to decide, well, how can we reward people that have proof of HODL badges or have proof of reputation badges. So like that's something we're starting to think about. One thing I wanted to just share a tiny little bit of alpha, not too much, but because I really want this to be a nice surprise when we come along here. But I'm sharing my screen here and just wanted to show you guys something that we're kind of playing around with, this idea of the next layer of what Zero Authority could be or should be. And so we're going to make it easy to find creators. We're going to make it easy. We just started testing the bounties, so we hope we'll have a bunch of bounties that people post, and we just turned on email notifications, so so you don't have to always come to the decentralized app to find the information. We're going to have a learn section. It's going to be some of our YouTube content. We want to also bring in a lot of the content from solar. Is it what is it? The Crush tools. Solar, not solar.
Oh, LunarCrush.
LunarCrush.
Yeah.
LunarCrush. We want to use their APIs, pull in some data. The community aspect of this too. We want to make it. We want to start bringing some social tools around this thing. So when you could
That's
see the
epic.
latest activity, you could thumbs up, you could reshare, you can share to another site, and you could see all of the activity coming in, right? Not just not just like your little window. We're really fortunate to be at this point where people see us as a trusted source. People see us as a go-to resource, and we're starting to get to the point where we have our contracts are working. Our contracts are holding collateral, releasing that collateral when people come in and do different gigs. We're just going to completely re-architect this thing to make it like super easy to use. So if you receive a gig, you can go in, you can see the status, you can see exactly where it is, you can see the scope of work and what needs to be done. For sent gigs, it's kind of hard to see it today, but the way we're going to redo this is if you sent a gig, you'll see if it's pending, you'll get the emails, and it's just going to be a really clean experience. If you have any bounties, you'll be able to add your submission, you'll be able to share that, you'll be able to see the description. The other thing too is we do want to launch DAOs, which is just going to be simple on-chain voting. I know there's a lot of conversation about launching DAOs and being legally compliant and regulatory compliance, and people will tell us, well, you need to build it like this and that. And 3 years ago when we started building the peer-to-peer gig marketplace, I remember someone said, oh, well, I talked to a lawyer and they told me not to do that. Look, if you're talking to lawyers and they're telling you not to build stuff, you're wasting your time, because there are no definitive laws against building any of these things. Now, look, if you're doing nefarious things and you're doing some money laundering, yeah, you're going to run into some trouble. But if you truly have good intentions and you really want to make this work, and you're building because you absolutely want to build something that's valuable for the community, go off and build it. Don't stop asking people who don't have any expertise or any background in these things whether I should build something or not. It's completely a waste of time. So, but yeah, so I'm excited about what we have coming and what we can do with the community, and obviously too, one of the most important things would be the where can you visualize your reputation, right? And this is what I was talking about. Once we have the standard framework, and then we have the concept of this trustless score, that's what I would love to see coming. And then that's where we give like these easy widgets to get up and running. So if you want to implement this wallet has this trustless score, and then see like, well, what constitutes this trustless score, we're going to completely open source that so people don't have to trust us. And so when you go to someone's page, I would even imagine if they have a Boom storefront, we can add a button there. If they're holders of different crypto or different tokens, we can do that there. This NFT is this is going to be the NFT reputation tab, so you can see all types of reputation badges. You'll be able to see all the activity, the endorsements. We'll add like a portfolio if people want to upload some images or maybe some PDFs, and you could also see like, am I participating in a DAO on Zero Authority? And again, it's going to be a simple DAO. It's going to be voting and proposals. It's nothing complex. But over time, we imagine that all of the gigs, all of the endorsements, all of these reputation badges that you can do right now on the platform, that would live under your DAO, right? So if you launch a DAO with us, well, then guess what? The people in the marketplace or the people in your DAO, the same way you offer gigs, or you could do retroactive gigs, you could pay whatever you want. Maybe it's 0.001 stacks just to do the transaction. You just pay for the transaction just to show that they've done something in your DAO. That's the missing piece of this, right? This is why I say we had to go this longer way to build reputation on chain, because every DAO today is pretty much voting on chain. Right. And I submit a proposal, I vote on that thing. People always they forget, like, just because that's how it was built doesn't mean that's how it has to exist.
No,
what we're going to do is bring this DAO or this team concept. If you don't want a DAO on chain, great. We're going to have teams, and if you want to have a team and all of your people in that team, then you'll be able to give each other badges. You'll be able to have some task, and if they've completed that task, they automatically unlock that reward from the contract, and you get your NFT badge too. And that'll all live on your profile page. And I would love to build the concept of this profile pages are represented in Hattie had this really cool idea where there's quantum NFTs right now, and the quantum NFT just represents this one state of you have this reputation, and then all of the NFT badges just kind of get appended as an attribute, kind of like an NFT, right? I really like that concept, and then if you want to own your profile on our platform and you say delete this thing, we completely just delete everything. There, you don't have to bargain with us. We're not fucking Facebook. We're not creating shadow accounts. You want to delete it? You want to be gone? Just revoke access. This is Web3. We want to make these things Web3. None of this Web 2.5 BS stuff anymore. I'm getting tired of it.
When we had horses and buggies as our main method of conveyance, is in America or wherever, roads looked a hell of a lot different back then. They didn't 100. They didn't look like they do now. So you simply can't say we're trying to build this great new way of doing things, this very highly technical, different way of doing things, and expect to use the same roads. The roads have to be built.
Totally. Totally.
And so real quick before we log off, I do want to just go around. I'll start with you, Dan. You know, from a retail perspective, everyone just looks at numbers, price, number go up. You know, that's how most people are introduced to crypto, and then they either stay and learn or they just crash and burn, right? So what are you most excited about right now, in this whole space? You know, Bitcoin, stacks, crypto, what have you? What really has you excited?
Can I step back a second?
Yeah.
I have an issue, not an issue, but I disagree with one thing Zero said about having different standards for storefronts. I think that might happen, but what we saw early in the NFT days of Stacks was Boom had created a standard, and then the community created a slightly different standard, like literally just flipping the transfer functions from sender and receiver. And so we ended up supporting, like a bunch of people and a bunch of NFTs that were no longer standard. And that's fine, not that big of a deal. But I think to the extent that we can leverage standards, we can actually accelerate the growth of these different storefronts. Lightning doesn't have 5 different standards for storefronts. They've got like LNURL. NOSTR has their one SIP, SIP 15, I think, for marketplaces. And so leveraging standards, I think, can actually help accelerate. And to that point, we're actually building an open standard based on existing payment payment specifications for this actual build out, right? We're working with some other partners in the ecosystem to make this happen. I didn't know Gary was doing this. I will reach out to Gary and talk to him so that we can ideally leverage each other's work and information and kind of multiply the effect. I think it's not just 1 + 1 is 2. It's 1 + 1 is 3 or 4, right? And so I think doing that will kind of help us all. Focusing on making a standard implementation. I don't envision Boom being like the only payment system in this. Like I said, the platform that Stacks is going to be enabling with Nakamoto and SBTC is really going to be enabling a ton of different functionality. And so if we get the standard in place, what I envision, what I hope for is like 15 different Stacks wallets, the way we see 15 different Lightning wallets, right? We should have 15 different Stacks wallets. Everybody's going to implement this interface. Everybody's going to enable payments. Boom will be one of them. We're just kind of the people building the standard right now, and in the open, and with the help of other people if they'd like to participate. Like I said, we are participating with some other existing big players in this ecosystem. We haven't finalized like partnership details yet, so I won't mention them. But we're trying to put a foundation in place so that a lot of different people can come out and build their own storefronts, build their own wallets on this standard.
Dan, what did I say? And what did you disagree with what I said?
You just it wasn't a disagreement. It was, you said that there will be a lot of standards for these storefronts, and I just think that may be true.
Oh, no, not a lot of standards. One standard storefront where we can choose to display it however we want.
Well, we may end up with multiple standards, but I think that's a detriment to accelerating the deployment.
Yeah,
and actually creating a Bitcoin.
I don't want to end up in the early NFT days like we did. I would love for you guys to create that one standard for a storefront. So then we could display it on people's profiles.
Right. And so sorry, Jack, I forgot your question now.
Oh, no, that's okay. We'll end it on that note. We've gone a little over time, but look, Zero, Dan, you guys, thank you so much for coming on today. This was an amazing conversation. it's important that people know or have some idea of what's being built behind the scenes so that they can know what's coming, so that they can ultimately do what? They can ultimately stay ahead of the curve, right? So this was a very cool conversation. I hope to have you both back on. And yeah, so thanks. And we'll see y'all next time.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it, and hope to see more of these, Jack.
Oh yeah, we'll keep them coming.
Take care.